Hello everyone, this is Supercat, but on Twitch I go by Wakanda Forever 10. Most people just call me Wakanda. You can just call me Cat. So for this video, I wanted to do a bit of an introduction and then get on to my recap of 2022. I wanted to do a sort of visual, sort of PowerPoint looking representation instead of just looking at me talking about everything I've done this year, and I thought visuals just is more pleasing than just listening to me talk. Some of you might like me talking, others may want to see visuals. This is just me doing a bit of both to help, accommodate for those that like to hear things more than see things, and vice versa. If you're looking for something to move with, I would recommend getting like a fidget spinner or a stretch ball. Anything that would help with your hands or fiddle with things as you're listening, basically is what I'm saying. So yeah, basically, introduction, then recap with visuals. I hope you enjoy this. It took so long. I thought before I do this recap, you would want to get to know me a little bit more, so you know who I am, why this channel exists, and what content I make. As to who I am a gamer, a teacher, and a streamer. The gamer part of me has been around since forever, really. I've pretty much been playing games since I was a really young child, like baby. Pretty much 1.5. That's not a joke. The teacher part of me has been around for not as pretty long though. I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I am one. That will be explained further down in this video. The streamer part of me is new, as of 2021, that is. That is going to be a long story, but I'll do my best to explain it simply. As to why this channel exists, I'm going to be honest, I needed a place to upload my Twitch streams because Twitch, 1, makes all your content sometimes just disappear in a certain amount of time. So if you don't have a way to, save it, upload it somewhere, it might as well be gone. Turn to dust. And I watched enough videos to know you want to save this, you want to preserve it. It's like a time capsule. We like time capsules, don't we? I also do a bit of poetry, which I have recently included in this channel. And it's gone pretty well, not going to lie. Which actually explains some of the content I make. Poetry is one of the content I make. And I also do VODs of my Twitch streams, along with writing fanfictions and stories. So I'm pretty much a writer and a gamer. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, let's go on to the next thing. Enough with the introductions, let's get on to the main part of this whole video. My 2022 recap. Let's begin towards the very beginning. And as our story begins, not in 2022, surprisingly, but 2021, calling this part the credentials arc. Because in order to understand what happened in 2022, you kind of have to go back all the way to August of 2021. From August all the way to December, I was in the fall term of taking the credentials for the first time, along with balancing my streaming for Twitch. And that was a bit hectic and not easy to juggle. All the way up to one point of just forgetting to stream after taking a week off for, reasons like personal reasons, such as my birthday, the fact that it was a busy week, and the list goes on. But essentially, I didn't go back to streaming that after my birthday week. And the work piled up, and so did the stress. Because I was a student teacher, a college student, and a streamer, all at the same time. But like I said, one of these things was out of the picture because all of the other things were piling up, and it's not good for a college student to have so much on their plate and not have enough time to, do the whole mind, caring for the mind, body, soul thing. Yeah. So the streaming part of my life was put on hold, and I focused on my credentials. It was actually pretty good, but it was a stressful time because I was mixing teaching and being a student while also having to deal with documents and a bunch of other paperwork that I don't even want to get to because it's really just too much, even for me. Now we're in 2022. In 2021, I was student teaching 4th graders. In 2022, I was teaching kindergarten. Now, you would think this is a step backward, considering I taught older grade students, while now I am placed with younger students, meaning the behaviors are going to be extremely different. Boy, was that true. The stress continued, but at a higher extent, meaning I was given a very stressful class that didn't make anything better. Now, mind you, I'm not streaming around this time. I was juggling all different kinds of things, and it wasn't making it any easier, especially when I was dealing with students with challenging behaviors, some more extreme than others, to the point where it was just a lot. And nightmare is just my best way of describing my experience with this class, along with everything else. Let's keep this in mind, that the credentials are basically classes, and student teaching happens to be a part of a class. But instead of me being in a college classroom, I am actually in a kindergarten classroom teaching to a bunch of kindergartners. I was also put in a school with, extreme behaviors, along with a different setting than I was used to back when I was teaching with 4th graders at a different school. Which was fair, because I went with a nice school, and then I went to a different school. You have to deal with the environment you have. That's what I was basically dealing with. But what made it difficult was one student was basically, as my mentor teacher has called him, a bully. But I saw more of challenging behaviors that I couldn't really do much about. I tried my very hardest to do and to make things a little bit easier, but it really was just making things so hard. I'm not going to lie. So much so that class management became much more harder for me than actually teaching the content I was trying to teach. Getting through a lesson was a nightmare. I was barely keeping on, to the point where I will admit, even now, I was burnt out, and I was, not passing my classes because of this. Because trying to manage extreme behaviors, from not just one student, but several different students, it became very much apparent to me that this is what the pandemic has caused. That teaching had become much harder because kids were not used to being locked up in their houses for a long period of time. And all these kids knew were whatever was around them at their home. And that is not exactly easy to deal with. And I'm going to be very vague about this because some houses aren't like all other houses. And I'll leave you to fill in the blanks. But essentially, my credentials program began pretty nice, but ended not so great. And honestly, it was just a wake-up call for me. A really big wake-up call. By the title of this part, The Crossroads, you will probably get the idea that I didn't get the credentials. Because I was burnt out, I was dealing with too much, and it was not exactly great for me. I was sponsored by some people. I won't disclose at this time, but just know that I was sponsored. So I was given the offer to go back to the college, finish my credentials right, try again, and get it right this time. Probably get placed in a better school, maybe do well. But the other part was work. And at this time, I made the choice to go to work instead. Why? I was burnt out. I was tired. I was tired of being a college student. The short version is I've been a student pretty much my whole life from that point. So, towards the end of May, I made a choice. And I chose to go to the workforce instead. Because sometimes experience in the workforce can trump a lot of experience in college. College helps prepare you for the job, but work helps you get experience that every work, job, whatever needs. So in other words, it was more of a choice of more knowledge or experience. And if you're a D&D person, you'd probably pick the experience if you're a role player. And that was a no-brainer for me at that point. Because I was basically done with college. I had enough knowledge to know what to do. Or to at least be prepared for my first job. Yep. My first ever job. And that wasn't going to be an easy task. On your left, you see 1 week of R&R, rest and relaxation. I went through so much stress, so much expectations put on me, and that I put on for myself, that I needed that week of rest and relaxation after everything I went through with the kindergarten class. After all the behaviors, all the drama I was put through and was put in exactly. I'm not saying any more details, but know that it was a lot. And knowing that I needed a week to recover from all that says a lot. After that R&R, I began the search. And from, June on to July, which we'll get to in a minute, I was basically doing the job search and possibly thinking about going back to streaming. Yep, I was kind of pondering on that thought of going back to streaming, but I was afraid of, the fact that I started something and that I would never go back to it. That was one of my fears. But yeah, job searching wasn't exactly an easy task. It was basically a job in itself. I would be pretty much pulling a routine of finding jobs, making some sort of quota of looking for something, finding emails, pretty much being borderline stalker. I mean, anybody that's done job searching knows it feels pretty much borderline stalker-ish. And I'm just gonna be saying that. Just as a matter of fact. It just feels like that. I'm not even going to, finish my sentence and thought that I just had. I don't even know where it went. If somebody knows where it went, let me know. But yeah, there is another part of this story, another part of this year that I need to address. A sort of pig in the room that I haven't gone to nor discussed. By this point in the video, it's July. Well, late June, early July. Like the last day of June towards the first day of July, sort of timestamp. And it all just began the night I saw Technoblade's video uploaded. If any of you don't know who Technoblade is, he's basically a Minecrafter that was super, super good at not only PvP, but strategy. He was just a really good player that I really, really enjoyed watching him grow his channel, his community, all of that. I had major respect for this dude. And that night, all it took were 3 words and a gut feeling to know this was not going to be a very good video. This was not the good news. No, no, no. This was the very sad news nobody wants to hear. And it was. It was the news that Technoblade passed away. And to top it all off, it was his dad that had to tell the news. And that was even more tragic for me, because Technoblade himself, now we know as Alex, never really got to say goodbye himself. Well, he did, in the form of a letter, but in some ways, seeing Technoblade's father reading the note or making the video makes it really, really hard, I bet. But I digress. By the time in the end of that video, which I will put in the description of his channel to check out, he is one of the people, I say one of because I have a lot of people I at least am a fan of and somewhat look up to. Technoblade I looked up to a lot because he was just really, really cool. But there were 3 feelings that night, and they're right there in this page, slide, whatever you call it. It was sadness, streaming, and poetry. Of course, being a poet, I must write. After that video, I was struck with depression, a bit of pretty much sadness, because the person I admired and looked up to passed away. Kind of like the drummer for Rush passed away, and my dad was a huge fan of him. And it took Technoblade's death for me to realize what my dad was feeling, and it wasn't really good. The other part is streaming again. Mind you, I haven't streamed since, late October of 2021. And around, June, as I'm job searching, I'm pondering on streaming again. Technoblade's passing was just, the nail in the coffin. Poor choice of words, but I'm running with it. Sorry. This experience, basically, of Technoblade's passing, seeing all the tributes, I was inspired to stream again. I felt I had to. In Technoblade's honor. I know it sounds weird, but this drove me to stream again. And it was the best thing I can do. The other thing I'm going to do is read a poem that I wrote that very night. And I want to share it with the world, with everyone that sees this video. Mind you, I'm an amateur poet. I'm not exactly a pro like all the greats, but poetry is more about feeling. So I'm basically giving what I feel. And I hope you enjoy the poem I'm about to read to you, because it means a lot to me that this gets read. It really does. Enjoy. Technoblade. At first, you see strength. Strength everyone admires. Then you see wisdom. Wisdom that isn't usually seen. But despite all, he was still humble. His wit gathered crowds. His strategies amazed people. His strength was both admired and feared by all. His power was legendary. All dearly loved him. All dearly admired him. He entertained us all. His famous quote, "Technoblade never dies." He will live within the stories we tell. He will live the memories we share. We will always cherish him in our hearts. If we pass on his legacy, then he'll live within us all. Rest in peace, Technoblade. Rest in peace. I put a picture of Phil's statue that very same timeline. So, thank you, Philza, for making this statue. I really do love it. Mind you, he's updated it since then, but it's good to know. Hello, this is Editing Cat here. Due to some problems with uploading the whole video, I had to break this into 2 parts. So I will be uploading both parts at the same time and putting them in a playlist so you all can just see it in a nice playlist and don't have to worry about it. So please check out the other part and I'll see you there. I'm sorry to end it like this, but it is what it is. So to find out more, go to part 2. If you like what you hear, check out the rest of my content. I'll see you there. Enjoy the video in part 2. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below. I really do appreciate it. Give them a lot of love because I did mention them or something of the extent, and I'd really hope you check them out. Thanks. Have a great 2023, everybody.